I'm Shawn.
And I'm Mike, and you're listening to
Shawn and Mike Take a Hike. Welcome to the season 1 finale of Shawn and Mike Take a Hike. What do you want to talk about today, Mike?
Thought today we would talk about river crossings or water crossings or staying dry and not getting wet while trying to cross a body of water of sorts.
Bodies of water like rivers, streams, creeks, ditches, not like traveling the ocean.
Right, yeah, like you're not swimming across a lake or anything like that. You're just a few steps, not
going for a swim.
Right.
Not going for a swim, not boarding a boat.
Right. Now, in this one, I'll start it out and caveat with a 99, that might be a little high, but 90-ish plus % of the time, you're going to find that it's already a path that's been made, and if there's a body of water that's usually there, that part of the trail is probably maintained by an association of some sorts. So there may be a foot trail or a bridge or something that helps you get across, that keeps you dry. Not always.
Well, that's the thing. Like, so in our experience, I don't want to say percentages, but I will say more often than not, on the defined trails that you and I have been hiking on.
Right.
More often than not, there's some sort of, whether it's like a legit bridge or at least a fallen tree across the river, or even, quite honestly, sometimes the path will just divert to like a road where there's a bridge going over the river, and then, you cross the river and then it will pick back up.
Yep.
But having said that, you and I talk all the time about our first trip in the Porkies. Mm-hmm. Very first trip you and I ever did, we had to figure out how to cross a river.
Right. So, we knew we were going to get to it. We weren't sure if there was going to be a bridge. We weren't sure how deep it was going to be, but we knew there was a water crossing with air quotes.
Right.
So we made it. From my research, I don't think we did anything wrong other than we didn't do everything my research is telling me. Or we did things that go against what my research is telling me. So,
yeah, I would say for sure, being brand new, I wouldn't say we did everything exactly right. Now, having said that, we got across I think river is being generous, stream.
Yeah.
We got across, no injuries, nothing went wrong. We were fine in the long run, but I agree. There's definitely tips and tricks that we probably could have done it in a better way, safer way, less impactful way, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
When do you think would be a good time? I guess maybe now, because I'm already bringing it up. I guess I want to point out, if you can avoid crossing a river, going through the water. If you can avoid going through the water, that's really your best bet.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Don't get into anything where you're going to, end up waist deep, and the river could potentially take you and your pack and everything you have with you downriver, and then you're lost and nobody ever hears from you again. Don't do that.
So, because realistically, crossing through the water is fairly dangerous. I don't want to give anybody an irrational fear of crossing the water, but realistically, it's one of the more dangerous pieces of backpacking is crossing water crossings.
Yeah. You're dealing with wet surfaces. You're dealing with the flow of water. It's not a good situation. if you can at all avoid it. I mean, yeah, if you're wearing like boots with decent soles on them, that can help with some of the slipperier surfaces and everything, but that doesn't help your balance with an extra 40 pounds on your back.
Right.
When when you're already off balance and potentially out of breath and huffing and puffing, your legs are tired. It's just not a good equation.
Well, like, I mean, you kind of mentioned it there, but like, so, Lord knows what's under the water, right? So,
Right.
slippery rocks. Are there like like, let's say it's even just sandy. Are there holes in the sand that like there's suddenly a deep spot that you didn't see? Is there murky or cloudy water so you can't even see what it is that you're stepping on?
Right.
Is the water, the current of the water don't need to be deep for the current to be strong. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's so then every time you're picking your foot up, you're off balance already because of this stupid backpack that you've got on. And then you've got the current in the stream or river trying to knock you off balance on top of that. And realistically, water don't need to be that deep for you. Like, if you were to unfortunately fall in, it don't need to be that deep for you to drown.
Right. Well, and water in nature, depending on the time of the year, but generally, especially moving water, tends to be cold. And it doesn't need to be that cold out for you to catch hypothermia.
True.
So even if you don't drown, you're still not out of risk of ailments. Like you could get sick, you could catch hypothermia.
Right.
So we've said it before, staying dry is one of the key pieces. Now, I have a hard time with that just because I sweat like crazy. So it's different. But if staying dry from like the elements and everything is key to backpacking or hiking. So your feet, your just everything, just trying to keep dry. So how do we want to start this in the sense that, like, if you come across a body of water that you need to cross, whether it's a small stream, creek, even if it's just like it's just down watershed, is that the right word?
Seasonal
runoff or precipitation runoff. Like if it recently rained and there could be water where last time you were there it was dry because you were there in a different time of year, or it didn't just rain the last time you were there. If there's water, definitely be mindful. Even if it's like you can literally step over it, if the water is running through there, that means the ground is saturated, and therefore, or could be saturated anyway, and therefore even around it, like right next to where the actual water is, could be very soft, and you could sink in or potentially twist an ankle or slip and fall.
Yeah.
So when you come to that body of water, though, no matter what size it is, seek the most clear route to get across it, whether that is you look up river, I guess, upstream, and you see that there's a bridge or a way to cross up there, whether it's a down log, something like that, where you don't have to get wet. I would take that route.
Well, and that touches exactly on one of the things that I have written big, like on my notepad. It's like, stop and assess. So like, if you get to a river or stream or creek or ditch or runoff or whatever it is, don't just go like plodding through it full steam,
right.
Like, stop and assess the situation. So
yeah.
When you're assessing, like Mike's saying, literally pause, like stop and look. Just because this is where the trail meets I'm going to call it a river just because it's easier. Just because this is where the trail meets the river, that doesn't mean that that's the best spot to cross that river. Like, stop and take a look around. Is there a better spot, 20 yards to your left or 20 yards to your right? Is there even when you get to your planning stage, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, like sometimes it makes more sense to divert your path to meet up with a road, to use an actual bridge to cross that road. So like, take a look around. Can you see a bridge somewhere that you can use instead of trekking through the water. Now, if it's like, if it's barely enough water to get the bottom of your shoes wet, okay, you're probably fine to just like go trotting through.
Right.
But realistically, even if it starts getting more than ankle deep, think twice about it. Because, like, hopefully you've gotten your waterproof boots. So hopefully your boots can hold up and not get your feet wet. But, like, if it's much deeper than ankle deep, well, now you're going to have to, like, start making some choices about, like, how do you want to cross this water? How is that going to impact the rest of your day? If it is taller than your boots or your shoes, are you going to have wet shoes for the rest of the day that you've got to deal with? How much further do you have to go? All that sort of stuff starts coming into play.
Well, and even if it is only ankle deep, keep in mind that if the water has any kind of current to it, it's going to raise up a little bit as it catches that resistance of your boot. So therefore, it could potentially go over the top of your boot, rendering them no longer waterproof.
Right.
So
now it's holding water in instead of keeping water out.
So there's definitely those things to think of. I mean, just be mindful. I mean, that kind of goes along with some of our other episodes too, of just kind of stopping, slowing down, taking a look around and enjoying the sights. And then you might actually see like, oh, there is a bridge 10 feet from me that you would have missed if you just kept looking straight down. So,
right. So I guess maybe do we want to take a minute to say like, okay, we've stopped and we've assessed, right?
Okay.
There's no bridge. You got to go across. Either or just keep in mind another option is you can turn around. Like if it looks too sketchy, keep in mind we're all people. You can make your own decisions. You can turn around and not go through it. Like that is an option.
That's part of your know your limits.
Know your limits and all that, right? But okay, so let's say you've stopped and assessed. You think you're going to go for it, right? You're going to go through this water. Let's talk about like some tips and tricks to figuring out like how to go about it the best way. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, if you'll give me a minute to talk about this, is like there are tips that you can figure out to the best of your ability what's in store for you once you step into the water by like looking at what the water surface is doing. So, for example, if the water is flowing and like the surface is nice and smooth, general rule of thumb is that means that it is deeper water. Because shallow water is going to react differently to like dips in the earth and logs and rocks and all that sort of stuff. So if it is flat, smooth, general rule of thumb is that probably means it's deeper water. Okay. If there are like ripples on the surface of the water that are not changing where they're at, right? Like it's a certain ripple and it's staying in that same spot. That is usually an indication that there's something under the water. So is that a dip in the dirt? Is that a rock? Is that a log or a stick of some sort? There's something down there that's disturbing the current and causing that ripple. The other thing that I would encourage people to watch out is like, to the best of your ability, figure out how fast that water is moving. So like, does that mean throwing a light stick out there and like seeing how fast it gets swept down river? Is there any sort of foam? Is there a leaf out there that you can look at to see how fast is that moving? That'll help you determine how fast the water is moving. Faster water is more dangerous. And then I guess the other thing is like, just take a look at the actual water. Like, can you see through the water, or is it murky, dirty, you can't actually see?
Well, that's the key too, is like, if you can't see it, it's even more dangerous. Because you have no idea how deep, or you have no way to assess. You have
no way to assess whatsoever. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and usually the murkier it is, meaning it's got more crap in the way, more obstacles or whatever, whether it be rock, sticks, logs, whatever. And it's typically moving faster. With that stuff in the way. So
yeah. I mean, any number of things.
Right. Just not good.
Not good. So you've assessed, right? You've looked at all those things. You're still on board. You're still wanting to cross. So the next thing that like I would recommend, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Mike, but this is where that looking around that you did when you first got to the water, this is where this is going to come into play. So you've already assessed there's no bridge, there's no log to use, any of that sort of stuff. But again, is right here where the trail meets the stream, is that the best spot?
Right.
Or if you go 10 feet to your left, does that look a little bit safer? Or 20 yards to your right, does that look a little bit safer?
Well, generally, I was going to say not only safer, but is there like a small tree that you might be able to use for balance to like get across, anything like that, or just anything to help you with your balance? Are there rocks that are protruding above the water that you might be able to use as stepping stones, like anything like that? Like
which has its own dangers potentially too. Like for sure, anytime you're using anything as a stepping stone or whatever, just be mindful it could shift when you step on it. Like so that's always the danger.
May I?
Yeah, well, please.
This would be a great time if you have them to bust out some trekking poles.
Absolutely, it would. I agree with you on this one. 100%. I am in agreement with you on this one. This is a great spot. Like if you've got, so talk about that more. Why is it a great?
If you find those little stepping stones or anything, you can use your trekking poles to test whether it's a sturdy rock or if you put just the slightest amount of weight with your trekking pole, is it going to topple over? And that would have been you had you put all your weight on it. So you can do that. You can feel around in the water ahead of your step to see if there's a rock that you can't see, if there's a dip. You use it as basically like a blind person's cane. Like use it to feel around in the water if you can't for sure see what you're getting yourself into. But also, if then you do step on that stone, you have another point of contact with the earth. So you're not just relying on that 1 foot keeping you out of the water while you're trying to make the next step to the other side or to another stone or to your next point. So you have your trekking pole there. If you have trekking poles and you're not just using like a walking stick you found in the woods, anything like that, and you have 2 of them, try to use both, and then you can maintain 3 points of contact while you're moving 1 foot. Then you move your trekking poles, then you move the other foot. Like, just kind of keep 3 points of contact with the ground while you're moving along, too. So,
well, and the other thing that I like to use trekking pole, well, I don't like to. Let's be honest, I don't really use. But the other thing you can use your trekking poles to determine is like how deep the water is. Like, use your trekking pole to like poke in and see like, okay, how deep is it when I take this next step? How deep is it going to be there? Like, that is a great way. Like some trekking poles even have measurement marks. On the actual trekking pole.
Yeah. I mean, we had a whole episode on trekking poles and we were very negative about them. We have since then found other uses and more proper ways of using them. I'm not necessarily all against them anymore.
So you're getting your trekking poles out. I guess this might be a good time to mention the other thing about like prepping before you cross too. So you're getting your trekking poles out if they're not already in your hands. But here is one of the things that Mike and I did not do that, like in hindsight, we probably should have done before we did our water crossing the first time. So you got this pack on you, right? And this pack, we've talked many times about all these straps and making sure it's snug so that stuff doesn't shift while you're walking and like it's not knocking you off balance. Your water crossing is the exception to that. So as you're prepping to do this water crossing, the expert advice says undo your hip buckle and undo your chest strap if you have those.
Sternum strap, whatever.
Your sternum strap. so that if you do take a tumble, if you go down in the river, you can get your pack off quickly.
Yes. I don't disagree with that logic. I have trouble with it just because if you're potentially going into an unstable situation, why make your pack more unstable? I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I share, like, look, you and I think a lot alike, and I agree, right? Because, okay, now it's not strapped down, and it is potentially going to shift, and now you're out in this moving water, and is that going to make things worse? I think, and I'm certainly no expert, but I think the thought behind it is hopefully you are moving slowly and gingerly and deliberately as you're crossing this water. But realistically, I think the thing is, like, you need to be able to get out of it, because if you go down, you need to be able to get out of your pack. Because, like, most of us, okay, let's just pretend, right? Like, I'm not in the best shape, but I can do a push-up, right? Like, if I fall down, I can do a push-up. Well, I don't know. I haven't actually tried it. I'm not positive I could do a push-up with 50 more pounds on my back. And then add into that the surprise of falling in the water. Potentially it's cold. I'm fighting some sort of current. The ground underneath me is unstable, potentially. Add all those things in, you want to be able to get your pack off quickly.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, you might not have the best, I'm going to say footing, but handhold maybe to put your hands the most stable there. So that's going to hinder your ability for the push-up if you have to push yourself up. Or even if you can't push yourself up, maybe you just need to roll over. If you have your pack on you, that's going to make that rollover a lot harder to do. So, I can see that. I mean, I guess in that situation, probably is the best thing to do.
I get what you're saying. Like, my gut reaction was the same as yours, and I'm assuming, and I don't know, Shawn and Mike from 5 years ago, I'm assuming that's what our thought was when we did our water crossing our first trip, was that, like, you want this snugged up on you and why on loose and everything, because I don't recall us doing that. I don't remember us.
I don't recall us doing that either. Like, I don't think I've ever intentionally loosened my straps.
Right.
Ever. So.
All right. Well, all right. So back to finding the best spot. Before we go into that, do you want to take a minute and take a break?
Yeah, we might as well. Let our sponsors get a say in.
All right. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back and pick up where we left off.
All right.
Okay, and we're back. So before we took our break, we were talking about looking to your left, looking to your right, see if there's a better spot to cross. Mm-hmm. Here's one of the things that I came across in doing some research for this episode that I think is a little bit counterintuitive that I thought I wanted to mention. So I think the gut instinct is to find a narrow spot in the river to cross. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to be in the water less, right, is the thought behind it. And I think that would be my thought behind it, too. However, again, according to the experts on the internet, whoever they are, generally speaking, it actually might be safer to find a wider spot in the river to cross.
Usually the current's slower in the wider spots.
The current's slower. Yeah, current slower, possibly not as deep. Because, like, it's the same volume of water. It's just spread out over a wider area.
Right.
Which, I'll be honest, I don't know as though I would have thought instinctually. Like, it makes sense now that I read it.
Yeah. It's kind of counterintuitive in a sense. But, like, if it gets narrower, that amount of water is still going through there. It's just water erosion happens and it digs down deeper, so it just So
really, when you're looking, I guess I say all that to say, like really assess the situation. Like, does it look like a wider spot might make more sense to do, even though you'll potentially be in the water longer? Is it going to be shallower, safer, less complicated?
Well, I mean, think of it this way. I mean, everybody's seen, not going to say everybody, most people have seen like those movies or videos of like whitewater rafting or rapids and everything. Tooling down the river, everything's fine. You're in this nice wide open area. It's just a slow little, I'm not going to say stream, it's still a river, but like slow, wide opening of a river. And then all of a sudden you hear the roar of rapids, and it's like all these narrow little openings where all that water still got to get through. And then the tempo picks up because it's just moving quicker through those areas. So
I'm going to say something potentially controversial.
Oh boy.
If there's whitewater rapids, that's probably your sign not to cross.
Okay. I mean, fair enough. I was just using it as an example. I'm not saying go for it. Like, I mean, unless that's your bag, I don't know. I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their life, but
right. Okay, fair enough.
So another thing that I'm not going to say is controversial, but kind of goes against what you and I did on our initial water crossing.
I was just going to ask you to talk about this because I know you have opinions about this. So this is exactly what I was hoping. Okay, perfect.
So
same page.
The research that I did and all of the notes that I come across and everything says to leave your boots on. As we mentioned before, if you have your waterproof boots and all that kind of stuff, and it's less than ankle deep, yada, 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 then that's one thing. They're saying even if it's going to go over your boots and you have to get into potentially like calf deep water, I mean, realistically, if it's more than calf deep, really look for an alternate route or turnaround. Knee deep, realistically, at the most.
I think knee deep. For Sean's recommendation, I think knee deep is like the deepest I would say. But
not many of us are wearing thigh highs out on the trail, so
I'm not usually hiking in waders. That's right.
So if it does get above your boot level, the research that I've done is saying leave your boot on because you have traction on the sole of your boot. We didn't do that, our initial crossing. It was slightly above boot level. It was very cold.
It was very cold.
and there were some very slick spots. I do recall that. But there were some sandy spots where, like, easy moving. But it was, in my opinion, better to take our boots off because we knew on the other side, and it was only like maybe 8-10 feet wide that we were crossing. Like it wasn't like a little onesie twosie steps, but it wasn't like a quarter of a mile through the water.
No, it looked like it was crystal clear water.
Yep.
You could see what you were potentially stepping on. It was not slow, but it was also not what I would call fast moving water.
Right.
But it did look like it was deeper than ankle deep, which we only have ankle high boots.
Right.
And on top of that, the other caveat that I will say, like in Shawn and Mike from 5 years ago's defense, leading up to that river, we had came across backpackers going in the opposite direction that had already crossed the river. And they had clearly left their boots on and were miserable because they had waterlogged footwear.
Well,
and took the time to tell us how miserable and how hard it was walking in that stuff.
Right. And well, like I said, it was cold. Like, so now not only do they have waterlogged boots, but their feet are freezing.
Right.
So that's where I agree with what we did. We knew that when we got across, we were taking a break, eating a snack, refilling our water. We were using an old t-shirt from the night before to dry our feet. And then we were putting our dry socks back on into our dry boots, and we were able to go about our merry way. It was miserable for a moment because that water was cold. So,
it was cold, but it was going to go into our boots either way. Realistically, it was going to go into the boots either way. It was going to be cold either way. Now, boots do give you more traction. Let's be honest. The tread on the bottom of your boots or your shoes is going to give you better traction. Now, we had a mostly sandy crossing, but the other thing to keep in mind is, like, God knows what's underneath that sand, right?
Well, right.
I would like to think people are not out there throwing glass bottles into this river, or leaving fishing hooks in this river, or leaving tin cans or something in this river, right?
That section of river, that section of river, I felt very safe from the fishing hook aspect. It wasn't deep enough really to do any great fishing. You never know, but
wildlife carries stuff a long way. I mean, that's true. I'm just saying, keep in mind, and especially to our listeners, keep in mind, even if it's crystal clear water, it looks like nothing but sand, you don't know what's hiding right underneath the surface. And this is one of the ones where, like, looking back on it, Mike and I were fortunate. We didn't get any damage to our feet, but, like, what if we had stepped on something? You're 15 miles from civilization. What if one of us had, like, really legitimately sliced open our foot on a glass bottle or something? Or not even a glass bottle. I keep calling it a glass bottle, but like a broken piece of glass or something like that. What are you going to do? Now, hopefully you've got some sort of first aid kit with you. But I certainly can't rely on Mike to carry me out 15 miles.
God, no. I've got a shovel. I'm digging a hole.
My husband has said repeatedly, leave me out there. It's just...
but this is where, in my research, I came across something and a light bulb went off, and also made me, like, want to smack myself really hard. We typically take water socks with us, or water shoes, for when we get to camp.
Yeah, we sure do.
So, I don't know. They're kind of made for that. Ours even have, like, a decent rubber sole on the bottom of them. So, I mean, that would have been a better choice than barefoot. We didn't have them at the time. So we didn't have those at the time. But
we didn't have those, but we had slides
or some kind of a sandal. So if
that
you
we could have put on,
that's quick drying, all that kind of crap,
and would have protected the bottom of our feet.
So kind of sit there and think, like, what the hell, bro? Like, come on. Be better. Like, we even have them in the bottom of our pack that, like, easy X.
We have said before, one of the things you and I like about this podcast is it makes us rethink how we do hiking.
Yeah.
I mean,
so that's
better, Shawn and Mike. Do better.
That's part of the reassess is not reassess, but, like, assess the situation. That part of that is thinking in your head, like, what tools do I have? Do I have trekking poles? Do I have water socks? How can I make the situation better and get me across more safely? So that's part of it. Utilize the gear that you have in your pack.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Mike. I'm not sure if, like, we went out a month from now and went backpacking and got to a water crossing. You're going to have to remind me that we got these water socks in the bottom of our packs, because I don't know why, but, like, I don't even think of them for that. I think of them for, like, getting into camp, and
they're my camp slippers. Like,
So dumb.
I mean, that it is what it is. We can't change it, but we can try to be better.
Yep.
So,
Okay, so all those things. So you're keeping your footwear on. I have some notes about like technique for
Okay.
going across the water. Does that seem
Yep.
like that would be a good thing to touch on?
Yeah.
So this one's going to be hard to explain for me because I'm not real good with words. But like, so this one's going to be hard for me to explain without like visuals. But the general idea is while you are crossing through the water, you want to be facing upstream. And if you're not familiar with what upstream is like where the water is coming from.
Right.
So like you want to be facing into the current. And then if you've got the trekking poles, use your trekking poles.
Yep.
Keep 3 points of contact, trekking pole in your left arm being 1 point of contact, trekking pole in your right arm being 1 point of contact, 1 foot. You move 1 foot at a time. Move only one thing at a time.
Right.
Kind of like shuffle your feet. Don't take like big honking steps.
Right.
Shuffle your feet to the best of your ability. And then you're also going to you're not going to move straight across the water. You're going to move on a slight angle, moving upstream just slightly as you're crossing.
Right. Where available or where you can.
Where possible. Sure. Right.
The main point to this is just you're fighting the current. It is going to be harder, but you are making it easier on you in a sense, because if you let the current, say you're walking with the current downstream, you take a step and let's say a rock slips from underneath you or something, then the current is helping your leg kick out from underneath you,
right,
making it a lot easier for you to fall. So going against the current, if your leg is going against the current and that rock starts to slip, you shift your foot back. It's just going to make more contact with the ground. So it's going to stabilize you easier. I'm not going to say it's going to fix the problem.
Well, this is how I kind of think of it. Think of it like walking forward is easier than walking backwards. Right? Kind of the same concept where walking into the current is easier than walking with the current, just because of the way your human body is made, right? Just because of what you're used to.
I mean, I disagree with that in the sense when I go salmon fishing, when I'm in waders and I'm okay with being in knee deep water, it is easier to walk downstream because the current is assisting your step.
Sure, but it is harder to maintain your balance because the muscles are different. The muscles you use to maintain your balance are different walking downstream. Yes, I hear what you're saying. Walking with the current maybe doesn't use as much, I'm going to say muscle strength. Okay. I don't think that's maybe the right term, but the muscles you're using to keep your balance are different and they're not the ones that you normally use. So walking into the current is more like walking forward as far as the muscles that you use and the stability and being able to maintain your balance and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. I can get on board with that.
Okay.
But like you were saying though, definitely shuffle your feet. Don't take big honking steps. You're not racing across this thing. Take deliberate, small, little shuffle steps. And like I said, make sure it's deliberate. That's where you're placing your foot. Don't wishy-washy, maybe shuffle and then find a spot. You're putting your foot down and you're only moving an inch or two at a time. You're not moving a full foot or step at a time. You're going to cross this thing slowly if it's the situation we're kind of putting you in. If it's a small little crossing, whatever, don't take any water crossing for granted. If it's small, there's still the dangers of there could be the mushy bottom, or the edges of the water could be very mushy and you could sink right in and all that. You still want to take your or do your due diligence for all of that. But in these bigger crossings where it's 8-10 foot wide, you definitely want to take your smaller steps.
Do we want to touch on like group crossing methods versus solo crossing methods? Do we want to touch on that?
I mean, we can. I mean, if you are fortunate enough to have friends that like to go backpacking with you, then
unlike Shawn and Mike,
right. Then if you come across, and this is more or less for the bigger crossings, like wider, like even I guess the 8 to 10 foot crossings, but if you link arms and you again face upstream and do your little diagonal upstream crossing, but everybody links arms. Usually you want to have your strongest hiker at the front to start it, and then one of your strongest at the end as well. Depending on how many you have, maybe throw another strong one in the middle. But you want to go upstream with linked arms, and everybody move very slowly. Like nobody's pulling anybody, nobody's pushing anybody. You all communicate who's taking a step and how far you're going. And this is more or less, if one person slips, you've got another person linked up that can kind of help hold you up or bring you back to your feet, anything like that, and make the current maybe less strong.
I think it's both. I think it cuts the current a little bit by having you all together moving as one. But I think the other main thing is, especially for beginner hikers, the locked arms is, like you said, if somebody were to stumble or lose their balance or just become unsteady, you're linked to somebody on your left and right that will hopefully, in good conditions, prevent you from going down.
Yeah.
Like prevent you from face planting, preventing you from going into the water, preventing all of your stuff from getting wet. Like that is the thought, is you're linking together to help each other get across safely.
Right. Think of it as like a adult version of, or a grown-up version of Red Rover. You're playing.
It's so funny. It's exactly what I had in my head.
You're just playing against the water rather than other people.
Right.
So.
Right.
So, but I mean, if you're at that big of a water crossing, realistically, there's going to be a road with a bridge or an actual footbridge that somebody has built that you're going to come across. Not always.
Yeah, I don't want to guarantee people that. Like, I mean, realistically, part of hiking and part of backpacking is like going on an adventure, right? Like, I mean, it is a mini adventure. Yeah. It is things that you're not going to do all the time. And some of this stuff is remote enough where you might have to cross the water. Like, you might have to. And I say have to with an asterisk after it. Like, you never have to. You can turn around. Sometimes the safer, smarter option is saying no, this is as far as I can go.
Yep.
Turn around and go back the way you came.
Yep. Or I'm going to set up camp here and reassess and see if...
Or that.
The water, like, level decreases overnight or something. Maybe there was a heavy rain the day before, and this is just a lot of watershed that's coming through.
Right. That, 100%. Yes, absolutely. So, you know, I just want everybody to walk away with this knowing, like, you never have to. You don't. You never have to. If it is too sketchy or too dangerous and you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. Turn around. Mike and I have, like, I mean, look, I mean, as much as we joke around and beat ourselves up about stuff, Mike and I have bailed on trips. Like, we've gotten as much planning and all that we say to do and all that sort of stuff. sometimes you come upon things that you just didn't plan for, whether it's weather, whether it's a river crossing, whether it's, you know, who knows, bugs, whether it's drought, whether it's whatever, gear breaking. You should not be embarrassed because you weren't able to complete what you started out to complete. Right. You should be proud of yourself for recognizing that you got in over your head and didn't need to get rescued in some capacity.
Absolutely. The majority of the population doesn't even want to do what we're doing.
100%.
So getting out there and even attempting it is great. If you have to turn around and, I'm not even going to say tuck your tail between your legs. If you are smart enough to know that you cannot complete this without risking serious injury or dying, then it's time to turn around, and you can recognize that, then turn around. It's
Mike and I, when the first time Mike and I ever quit a hike early, I think jokingly, but also not jokingly, used to tell each other and tell other people, like, yeah, we failed, or yeah, we had to quit,
we bailed
or whatever. And I worked for a long time to reframe that in my head, and I have said this to Mike often. We knew our limits. I need to reframe this as we knew our limits. Because that's really what it was. It was we knew our limits, we knew we were in over our head, and we did the smart thing of not pushing on when we shouldn't have.
Right. Now, the one thing that we did the very first trip was we had a bailout moment. Like, we had
100%. Yep. This if we're going to bail, this is where we bail.
This is where we bail. It's like the halfway point type of a thing, and there's a shortcut, quote unquote, back to the truck. That's the last time we've done it. Like, we haven't really made a bailout point, but we haven't done circles.
I disagree, because not to get too like deep into like the Shawn and Mike hiking story, but that was the last. Well, the one where we actually bailed, we didn't do it. But ever since then, we've done supported hikes. And what I mean by that is where we go hiking, we have not been solo. We've had spouses to call in the event that we are not able to complete our route.
Right. Okay. That's right. The first
two we did unsupported. It was just you and I. No other plan, nobody up there in that area with us that we could contact. Since that one, we have always been supported. We've had people that are in the vicinity to come and save us if we need to.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, we haven't necessarily needed a bailout point. We just need to find cell signal.
Right.
So, other than that, I don't have a whole lot more to go over as far as my notes are going.
I have one last thing that I wanted to touch on, and this is a short, brief little wrap up type thing.
Okay.
Is just like after you get across, right? Like, you're across, you're safe, nothing bad happened, all that sort of stuff. When you get to the other side, take a hot minute. Take a break for just like a hot minute. Are your socks wet and you should change them? Are your feet cold in a way that you're not sure if they're going to warm back up? Are you going to need to like take a rest at the other side to have a snack, have a warm up, get your feet warm, get your stuff dried out? If water got into your boots, can you get as much of that water out as possible? Take a minute you took a minute to assess before you did the crossing. take a minute to assess after you do the crossing too.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is this is always a great opportunity while you're assessing, drying things out, doing whatever you've got to do. While you're taking that moment, refill your water. You're right there.
Right.
You're right there.
You're right there. Yeah.
Take a moment.
Maybe not in the middle of the crossing, but
Well, right. When you get to the other side, refill your water, and while it's filtering and everything, and then everything else is drying out. You kind of kill two birds while you're there, and
yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I don't have a whole lot. I really don't have anything else to go over. We've exhausted my notes.
We have exhausted my notes too. So, do we want to take a minute to talk about? I mentioned at the top of the episode, but let's take a minute to talk here. Mike and I have reached the end of what our initial list of topics were.
Right.
For this podcast series. So, officially, this is the end of what we're calling season one.
Yep.
Of the podcast. We have some ideas on where to go, some more topics. We just need a hot minute to regroup and flesh out season 2 of the podcast.
We got to structure this thing and figure it out. Yeah.
So we will not be back in your feed in 2 weeks, but we will be back in your feed.
Yes.
So stay subscribed if you're one of these people that subscribes. If you're not, thanks for being here anyway. Appreciate you. But Shawn and Mike will be back for season 2 in the near future, but we don't know the exact day. So keep subscribed. Season 2 is going to have even more content, some better stuff. But we're going to take a pause to regroup so that we can get it all mapped out for you.
Right. And if you have topics that we didn't cover or we did cover and you would like something more in depth, anything like that, just reach out, let us know, and we'd be happy to add that to our list so we can continue this thing and help the hiking community as best we can. And
great segue, Mike.
Where would they email us or reach out to us, Shawn?
Great segue, Mike. Appreciate you. You can always reach us on our email, which is ShawnMikeHike@gmail.com. You can reach us on most of the major socials at Shawn Mike Hike, or you can reach us directly on our website, ShawnMikeHike.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. And until next time, go take a hike.
And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.